It was just past midnight when Officer Dana Kessler first saw the girl, barefoot, trembling and walking alongside Route 89 with a hospital gown barely clinging to her small frame. Her feet were filthy, and dried blood traced lines down her knees and arms. She flinched at every passing car, eyes wide like a deer caught in headlights. Dana pulled over immediately. "Hey, sweetheart, are you hurt?" she asked, stepping out of the cruiser with both hands visible. The girl took a step back, her voice shaky. "Don't take me back, please. I got out. I did it. I don't want to go back." Dana knelt down, placing herself at the girl's eye level. "Go back where, honey?" The girl hesitated, then whispered something that Dana barely caught over the wind. "The room. I've been there since I was 2. Her words were almost nonsensical. Dana guided her into the cruiser, wrapping her in a blanket from the trunk. The girl clutched it with both hands, eyes darting to every shadow. At the local precinct, they tried to get a name out of her. "Do you know who you are?" the nurse asked gently. "My name is Alina," she said. "How old are you?" 10. The room went quiet. "You said you've been locked up for 8 years. Alina nodded. "Since I was 2. But you're only 10. "I know," she said. "I don't know how, but I remember everything." Across town, news spread quickly. A girl found wandering the streets with a story too disturbing to believe. Social services got involved. Hospital staff ran basic tests. No signs of recent sexual abuse, but her body bore evidence of prolonged confinement, atrophy in certain muscles, vitamin deficiencies, faded ligature marks around her wrists and ankles, like she had lived indoors for nearly a decade. But none of it made sense. There were no recent missing child reports that matched her. No Amber Alerts, no frantic parents demanding answers. Alina didn't seem to exist in any system. Detective Lena Morrissey had seen her fair share of strange cases, but this one had teeth. She reviewed the interview footage personally. Alina described the room small, concrete, with a steel door that had no knob on the inside. She recalled a humming sound through the walls at night, the sound of someone walking above her at random intervals, and an overhead vent that only blew air every few hours. "What else do you remember?" Lena asked her directly during a scheduled session. "There was a lady," Alina said, "but she didn't talk much, wore a mask all the time. She brought me food, left it, and walked away." "Do you know her name?" Alina shook her head. "She was always quiet. Sometimes she cried when she thought I was sleeping." "What about the room? Did you ever leave it?" Alina nodded slowly. "Twice. Once when I was really sick. She carried me upstairs. It was a house. I saw wallpaper. I saw pictures. Pictures of who?" Alina paused. Her voice cracked. "Me. And her. And someone else. A man." Lena reviewed every cold missing child case from the last decade. There were no exact matches. Alina's DNA didn't match anything in the missing persons registry, but it did flag a partial family match in a national database. Just a partial. Nothing to act on yet. Meanwhile, Alina stayed in protective custody at a juvenile care center. She refused to sleep with the lights off. The staff noted she hoarded food under her pillow. One night she screamed so loudly they had to sedate her. She claimed she saw someone watching her through the wall vent. 2 weeks after her rescue, Lena got a call from a local lab. "Detective Morrissey, we reran the DNA through extended genealogy software. We've got something." Lena leaned in. "Tell me." "There's a 99.7% match to a woman who gave birth in 2013. Birth certificate lists the baby as Alina Grace Donnelly. Mother's name? Beth Donnelly. Father unknown." Lena blinked. "Where are they now?" "That's the strange part. Beth died in 2015. Car accident. No one ever reported the baby missing. The house where Beth had last lived, still in the system, rented to a man named Charles Donnelly, her brother." Lena wasted no time. She secured a warrant and took a team out to the Donnelly property, an aging 2-story house set deep in the woods, its driveway half-eaten by moss. The place looked abandoned. Inside it smelled of mildew and dust, broken furniture, cans of food dated from 4 years ago. But something was off. Too many locks on interior doors, furniture pressed up against vents, a hidden latch in the laundry room. Bingo. Behind a false wall was a concrete room, just like Alina had described. Thin mattress, scratched up floor, food trays stacked in the corner. The room hadn't been used in months, maybe even years, but it was real. One of the agents opened the door to a back room and shouted, "Detective, found something." They'd uncovered a dusty photo album under the floorboards. Inside were pictures of Beth holding a baby girl, smiling. Then other photos, older, darker, a toddler in a room, drawing chalk outlines on the wall, eating off a plastic tray. Alina, Charles Donnelly, was brought in 3 days later, found hiding in a shelter 3 towns over, mid-50s, nervous disposition. His hands trembled when he saw the file placed before him. Lena flipped open the cover. "Recognize her?" Charles didn't respond. "She says she was kept in a room. In your house." Still silence. "We found the room, Charles." His eyes flicked up, just for a moment. "Enough." He asked for a lawyer. Back at the facility, Alina stared out the window as the sun began to set. She still refused to speak about Charles, but she did ask one thing. "Did you find the cat?" "The what?" "The little white cat. It used to sit outside the vent. I think it lived in the walls. I used to feed it crumbs." Later that night, the staff heard scratching in the walls. A maintenance worker opened up a panel, and a white, half-starved cat bolted out. It went straight to Alina's room. She wept, holding it like a lifeline. And for the first time since she was found, she smiled. Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you are watching from today and what time you are currently watching this video. If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more. The day after Charles Donnelly was arrested, the story of Alina exploded in the media. Her face, pale with large brown eyes and tangled hair, was everywhere. News outlets called her the girl who time forgot. Commentators debated how a child could be hidden away for 8 years without anyone noticing. But in the quiet halls of the Children's Center, away from the cameras and noise, Alina was just trying to learn how to sleep without fear. She hated the silence at night. Too many years alone in that cold room had taught her to fear it. In the dark, her mind brought back the sound of the steel door clicking shut, the loud hum of the ceiling vent that never quite drowned out the silence, the light flickering overhead like a dying firefly. Alina still kept the white cat with her. She named it Dusty. She talked to Dusty more than she did to people. Detective Lena Morrissey wasn't done. Something still didn't sit right. The timeline, the secrecy, the absence of any missing persons report for a child born to Beth Donnelly. It was like Alina had been forgotten on purpose. She dug deeper into Beth's past. Beth had worked as a nurse's aide at a nearby hospital before her death in 2015. She lived a quiet life. No criminal history, no signs of mental illness, no complaints from neighbors. Her co-workers remembered her as sweet, quiet, a little nervous. No one even knew she had a child. Lena sat in her office, sifting through old files when she found something odd. An emergency room report from 2014, where Beth came in with a dislocated shoulder. She claimed it happened while moving furniture, but the nurse had written in the margins, looked scared, kept checking the hallway, refused to give full details. The doctor on duty had been one Dr. Henry Voss. Dr. Voss was nearing retirement now, but he remembered Beth. She came in once terrified, he said when Lena visited his quiet clinic. Didn't want to talk. I remember she kept whispering something like, "I can't go back home with him." I thought she meant a boyfriend or something. Did she mention a child? He shook his head. No, but I did think she looked like she was hiding something. Lena leaned forward. Did she say who she lived with? Voss frowned. Only once she said her brother. Charles, I think? Yeah, she said Charles didn't like visitors, that he kept the curtains drawn all the time. Meanwhile, Alina started attending sessions with a new child psychologist named Dr. Maria Glenn. Maria was patient, gentle. She never asked too much, only what Alina was ready to give. One afternoon, Alina drew a picture of the room, a square box with no windows, a small bed and 2 bowls, one for food, one for water. Maria asked softly, "What did you do all day in there?" Alina shrugged. "I'd count the lines on the wall. There were hundreds. I scratched one every day. Every day for 8 years, I think so. I lost count when the lights stopped working." Maria paused. The lights stopped. Alina nodded. "Yeah, she stopped coming too." "She?" Alina lowered her voice. "The woman with the mask." Back at the station, Lena got another surprise. Forensics had pulled something new from the Donnelly house, an old half-burned letter found in the fireplace. Most of it was gone, but a few lines remained. "I'm sorry, but I had to do it this way. They'll never understand why I kept her safe. She was never supposed to be born." The handwriting matched samples from Beth Donnelly. She was never supposed to be born. The words echoed in Lena's mind. Why go through a pregnancy, raise a child for 2 years, then disappear her into a basement? Later that week, Alina asked to speak with Lena. It was the first time she'd requested anyone. Lena sat beside her in the quiet room, unsure what to expect. "I remember the day she stopped coming," Alina said, looking down at her hands. "The woman with the mask, she brought food every morning. Then one day, she did." "How long were you alone after that?" "A long time, maybe weeks. I started saving food. I thought she was mad at me."
"What changed?"
"One day, I heard a crash, like something fell. Then there were sirens, and no more footsteps." Lena's breath caught. "You were still in that room after Beth died, weren't you?" Alina nodded. "She never came back. Then a new person came, a man. He didn't wear a mask." "Charles?" "I think so. He didn't talk much. He just left food through the slot. Then one day, he stopped too." Lena went back to the property. She had a nagging feeling there was still something hidden. In the attic, behind old furniture, they found a locked trunk. Inside were stacks of envelopes, letters addressed to someone named D. Each envelope contained handwritten notes from Beth to her father. The top letter read, "Dad, I know you didn't want anyone to find out about Alina, but I couldn't give her away. I thought I could raise her myself. Please don't tell Charles. He still thinks she was adopted." Lena's blood ran cold. Beth had been writing to their father. But why would she hide Alina from him, or from Charles? Unless Charles wasn't the father, but someone else in the family was. DNA retesting was done, not just to confirm Alina's identity, but to explore more. When the lab called again, their tone was different. "Detective Morrissey, we found something you're going to want to see. The male DNA from the household. It's not Charles, it's someone else." Lena sat upright. "Who?" "A man named Douglas Donnelly, Beth and Charles' father." "Is he alive?" "No, deceased in 2015, but the database cross-matched his blood sample from an old medical study. He was Alina's biological father." Lena's stomach turned. So Alina was the child of Beth and her own father, an incestuous pregnancy. That explained why Beth had never reported Alina, why she hid her, why Charles kept the secret buried after Beth's death. He was ashamed, maybe terrified, or worse, trying to protect someone else's legacy. Back at the care center, Alina sat by the window with Dusty curled in her lap. She looked out toward the trees, where the wind made the branches dance. Dr. Maria walked in gently. "You doing okay today?" Alina turned, her voice soft. "Do you think I was a secret for a reason?" Maria hesitated. "I think the people who were supposed to protect you failed. But why keep me locked away? I didn't do anything wrong." Maria didn't answer. She just sat beside her, hand resting on the cat's back. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance. There were still questions, many questions, but the truth was crawling closer, and no one was ready for what it would bring. The courtroom was quiet, the kind of quiet that felt too full, like the air was holding its breath. Alina sat in the witness room, legs swinging off the chair, her white cat Dusty tucked safely in her arms. She had never been in a building this big before, and the walls made her feel small again. But this time, she wasn't alone. Detective Lena Morrissey sat beside her, tapping her fingers lightly on the table, watching Alina with calm, steady eyes. "They just want to ask some questions, all right?" Lena said gently. Alina nodded. "I can answer. I remember everything." In the courtroom, Charles Donnelly sat pale-faced and stiff. He didn't look at anyone, not the lawyers, not the judge, certainly not Alina. His hands shook slightly on the wooden bench. It wasn't just fear, it was shame. The evidence had been presented, the room, the letters, the burned confession from Beth. And then, finally, the DNA. Lena stood near the back of the courtroom, jaw tight, remembering the moment the lab confirmed it. Alina was the biological daughter of Beth Donnelly and her father, Douglas Donnelly. It was the piece that tied everything together. Beth had been 20 when it happened. A quiet, anxious young woman still living at home after dropping out of nursing school. Douglas, a retired firefighter with a respected name in the town, had always been seen as a stand-up man. No one ever guessed what was happening behind those closed curtains in the Donnelly home. When Beth got pregnant, she told no one, not even Charles. Especially not Charles. She moved into the guest house on the property, claiming she needed space. For 2 years she raised Alina in secret, telling neighbors she was babysitting for a distant cousin. But it all fell apart when her father died in 2015 from a sudden heart attack. Beth panicked. Not because he was gone, but because she was the only one who knew the truth now, and she couldn't live with it. She sealed Alina in the basement, not to punish her, but to hide her, to erase the shame she couldn't explain. Charles eventually found out. When Beth died falling from a ladder in the attic, the news report said he discovered the girl in the hidden basement room. But instead of calling the police, instead of saving her, he kept her locked away. Why? Maybe he thought it would ruin the family name. Maybe he believed the truth was too dark to tell. Or maybe he saw her not as a person, but as a problem. So he fed her, kept her alive, but never freed her, never once let her see the sky. The judge tapped the gavel, bring in the witness. Alina stepped into the room, every head turned. She didn't look at Charles. Her eyes stayed on the floor until she reached the chair. A booster seat had been added to help her reach the microphone. She sat, back straight, and placed Dusty quietly on her lap. The judge leaned forward. Miss Alina Donnelly, can you tell us what happened? The room fell still. I lived in a box, she said, with no windows. There was one light that buzzed. I got food through a hole in the door. Did anyone talk to you? She nodded once. A lady. At first, she wore a mask. Then she stopped coming.
You know how long you were in that room?
Alina looked around. Her voice was calm, but her words were sharp. I was 2 when I went in. Now I'm 10. Whispers spread across the courtroom. The judge raised a hand. Order. After her testimony, the court recessed for lunch. Outside the building, reporters waited like wolves. Lena shielded Alina as they walked past, but one question slipped through the noise. Do you feel safe now? Alina turned slightly. I do now. She didn't smile. She wasn't ready to smile yet, but she no longer looked afraid. Later that week after the trial ended, Lena visited the old Donnelly property one last time. The house was cold, filled with dust and silence. In the basement, the steel door remained. Lena ran her hand across its surface. There were scratches, thousands of tiny lines carved into the wall, one for every day Alina had survived. She took a breath, then walked out. The door creaked shut behind her for the last time. Charles Donnelly was sentenced to 25 years in prison. The judge called his actions a deliberate and cruel attempt to erase a human life. There was no sign of remorse. During sentencing, Charles simply stared ahead, as if he had detached from reality. Alina's story shook the town. The newspapers called it the secret child of Cedar Grove. But the truth was darker than any headline. She wasn't just a secret, she was the result of something no one wanted to talk about. Something that hid behind smiles and silence. Months passed. Alina moved into a foster home with a woman named Meredith Jacobs, a retired teacher with a gentle voice and a garden full of sunflowers. Alina liked her instantly. There were no locked doors in Meredith's house, no flickering lights, no masked women, just sunlight and books, and the smell of cinnamon in the kitchen. At night, Alina still had trouble sleeping, but she no longer feared the silence. Slowly, she began to talk more. She laughed once, really laughed, when Meredith accidentally spilled flour on herself trying to bake cookies. Dusty sat in the window, watching birds now. Alina sat beside her. She was learning what it meant to be a child. At last, Dr. Maria Glenn continued her sessions with Alina. They met once a week, always in the same quiet room, with soft chairs and coloring pencils. One day, Maria asked, "Do you ever think about your mom?" Alina nodded. She was scared.
I think she wanted to love me.
But something bad happened to her.
Do you hate her?
Alina thought for a long time.
No,
she said at last.
I think she was broken.
Like a toy someone stepped on. Maria smiled faintly. You're stronger than most people ever have to be.
I had to be. In the spring,
Meredith enrolled Alina in school. On her first day, Alina wore a yellow dress and carried a new backpack. She stood outside the classroom door, nervous but ready. The teacher greeted her with a warm smile. Alina stepped inside. The other kids looked up. One girl with curly hair offered her a crayon. Alina took it. She didn't speak much that day, but she colored a picture of a house with a big garden, a cat in the window, and the sun shining in the corner. In the corner, she wrote one word in careful, neat letters: free. If you like this story, make sure to like and subscribe. Also another to strengthen our community. Let us know in the comments where you are watching from and what time you are currently watching this video.